and thanks again for watching another one of my videos. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the LBLA Wi-Fi 4-axis aerocopter. So here's a list of the things that I'll be talking about, and as I normally say, let's just dive into the video. What's in the box? Well, everything you need to get started. Comes in a nice package, and once you open it up, there it is. Nice beautiful quad waiting for you to fly it. It has all the parts that you need, and there's also a bag of accessory parts in case you have a crash. Now, if you're a beginner to flying quadcopters, I highly suggest that before you do anything, you read the manual. So let's take a look at it, page by page. Without a doubt, the quad is loaded with features, and here's a list of them, but later on in the flight review, I'll show you exactly what some of these features can do. So let's move on to preparing the quad for flight. Preparing the quad for flight is really simple. Basically, all you have to do is install the batteries in the back, screw on the smartphone clip. If you're going to add the prop guards, you'll need to remove this little tiny green piece, and finally all you have to do is charge the battery up until the light turns red, and then you're all set to go flying. Okay, this is not the Maiden Flight, but I looked outside and I saw this crazy sky, and I figured that would be a good background. Hey man, this is my next door neighbor kid. Be a great chance to try this out. So let's see here. Turn that on. Turn this on. And I think she's ready to go. Let's see here. Might be a little bit too much wind for it, I'm not sure. I think I might be too much wind. Too much wind. Let's put her out here and try it. Let's give it a go. Too much wind. I think we're gonna need some speed. There we go. All right. Okay. I can handle the wind pretty good. We're out here in a big storm almost. Trying to keep this close so you can see it. Let's get her up there. That's in the wind. I don't want to get too far out there. Oops. Accidentally hit the button on the speed. So, whoa, watch the wind. I don't want to get chopped up with this little thing. I mean, you can see from my little windsock, it's pretty windy out here. Plus it's changing on me too. Let's keep it into the wind. I want to see if this thing will flip. I'll get it up there a little bit. Hit the flip button. Oh yeah, it does. Whoa, get her down, get her down. Okay, we're gonna call this quits. Whoa, that's not the quit I put in there. Okay. Yeah, it's in one piece. We'll try this on a calmer day. It works. Works pretty doggone good. This is not the Maiden Flight. This is, I'm just dying to get out of here and give it a shot. Okay, let's talk about the controller. It's the most important device that you'll be using to fly your drone. So let's just go over it point by point. In order to activate your controller, you press this off and on button. That turns the controller off and on. It also links into the quadcopter once you turn it on. Now on the right hand side, we have the aileron and the elevator gimbal. You push this forward, the quad will go forward. You pull it back, it'll go back. It'll roll to the left, roll to the right. Now below that you have a set of trim buttons. That's the ones with the arrows. If your quad is drifting to one side or it's going forward or backwards, you'll use these trim buttons to counteract any activity that the quad is doing that you don't want it to do. Now in the middle right here there's a little asterisk. That is to turn the lights off and on. So I suggest if you can fly the quad with the lights off that you do so. That will give you some additional time on the battery, and that's always nice to have. Now on the left hand side we have the throttle and the rudder gimbal, and basically if you push this forward it's going to go up. You pull it down, it's going to go down. If you want the quad to yaw left and right, that'll be this particular gimbal right here. Now below that we have a really important set of buttons. To get the quad in the air, we have a one-key takeoff button. And basically you just push this button and the quad will actually take off all by itself, and that's a pretty handy feature to have if you're a beginner. Below that we have the one-key landing. So if you would like to let the quad do its own landing, then simply press this button right here and the quad will actually land by itself. Now the headless mode is a little bit tricky for beginners, and basically what it does is if the quad is facing in any direction and you're not sure of its orientation, you can press this button, and regardless of which way that you're flying it, using your control gimbals, you can still bring the quad back to you using this headless mode. On the right hand side you have a really important button. That's called the auto return button. Now this is a button that's not going to return to home, but at least it'll bring it back towards you. So if you get into any kind of trouble where you're disorientated and you're not sure which way the quad is going, you might want to try the auto return, and that will at least bring it back towards you. And then in the middle, if things get really bad, you have the emergency stop button. Now when you push this button, make sure that you are not over anything that's going to cause the quad to receive extensive damage, because that button right there will actually stop the motors from turning and the quad will fall out of the air. So you want to pick a nice spot for that to happen. Okay, that's pretty much it on the controller. Oh, I forgot. We have two buttons right here. One is the speed button. There are three sets of speeds. You have low. It starts off in low. You have medium, and then you have high. And on the left hand side you have the flip button. Push this button and then the quad will go left to right, up and down on the flips depending on which way you move the stick. Okay, so that's it for the controller. Let's do some flying. Okay, yesterday when I got the quad, I was really excited about flying it, so I took it out on that very first flight, doing a pretty stormy day, and it did pretty good. So today is going to be the official day that we do the maiden flight, and I'm basically going to be showing you how to perform some of the functions that are listed on the controller. And as you can see right here, it's a little bit of bad weather coming through, but over on this side it's pretty clear. And I brought a little launching pad so that we don't have to worry about the blades chopping grass. So let's give this guy a try. Now before we get started, there's one little quirk about the controller that I want to point out to you, and that is there's a tendency to hold the transmitter this way, but I strongly suggest that if you can, put your fingers in the little grooves in the back, and that way you won't accidentally change the flip or the speed knobs.
Isn't that a pretty shot? I think so. So, the first thing we have to do is we have to turn on the quadcopter, and you can see the lights are blinking on it. Green in the front, blue in the back. Next we're going to turn on the controller, and there you go. Okay, so now let's try initializing it first. And basically we push the stick forward and back, and now we have control of the quadcopter. So the first thing we're going to try is a normal takeoff just using our hands. Okay, so push the throttle forward. You got power. Now all you got to do is give a little bit more throttle, and she takes off. Now I'm going to be flying. Oh, we need some trim here, so she's going to the left. So let's trim this guy first, because there's no wind out here right now. So I'm pushing this button to the left over here. Now we got a pretty stable quad. Drifting to the right a little bit. I'm sorry, to the left. That's my other right. Okay, so we got some good trim right now. She's standing still pretty good. Look at that. Very good. Okay, so now these are your speeds. Right now everything is gentle. Twice. A little bit more agility. 3 times. Oh, this baby really rocks and rolls too. And you got a little bit better yaw. So that's how you change your speed right up here. Okay? Alrighty. Now let's see if we can do the one key landing. That's right about here. I'm going to try to keep it over this thing here. Push the button. There you go. Now you can actually guide it while you're landing. So that's a pretty good idea. I like that feature. Now I don't have that on some of the quads that I have, but this one is pretty nice. Okay, let's do the one key takeoff. This time we're going to push this button, and not only is it going to take off by itself, but I don't have to give any input. So here we go. Oh my, I just got to hold that. One key takeoff. There you go. I guess it was kind of faking me out there a little bit. And still drifting to the right a little bit. Hope I don't have to reset that every time I fly. Okay, so that was your one key takeoff. Yeah, we got pretty good trim now. Okay, let's try that one key landing again. See if I can get this guy right over the pad. I'm gonna push the one key landing. Let's try right about here. There you go. I got that right down to the pad. Okay, number next on here. This controls your lights. I'm gonna push this button once. And let's look on the bottom. And you'll see we have no lights on. I'm gonna push it again, and now you can see we have lights right there. Okay, I'm gonna turn them off because we want to save as much power as we can. Okay, next thing we're going to do is the auto return. So let's do the one key takeoff. You have to hold that button down, okay? Alright, you have to hold the button down all the way when you do the one key takeoff. Oh. You gotta hold it down until it takes off. Okay, so remember that. On the one key takeoff, you gotta hold it down and keep it down until it takes off. Okay, let's fly it out here a little bit. And let's do the auto return, which is right here. Oh yeah, look at that. That's coming right at us. And to stop that, all you wanna do is move your elevator, aileron stick, and that'll stop it. Let's try that again. That was pretty cool. So we're going to fly it out there a little bit. Let's get it up in the air so you can see it. And then we're going to hit the auto return. This is a good feature if you ever get confused. And then you move that stick forward, and that slows it down. Okay, let's get us some better sky here. Okay, I like this auto return. On my bigger quads, I've got return to home. So let's try that again. He's coming back. You notice it's not coming exactly towards us, but at least it's coming back so you can see it. And that's what you want to have when you do return to home. Okay, the dragonflies like it. Okay, let's try some of the flipping modes. Okay, flipping modes. Okay, I know what's wrong with me. I'm using this beginner mode and I need to go 2, 3, there we go. Okay, let's get some altitude and let's hit that flip button. And there she goes. Let's try it again. Hold down the flip button. There you go. I'm gonna push it again. Forward flip this time. There you go. That's pretty good on flips. For as small as it is, it does really well. Now I'm keeping this close so that you can see it up close and personal. Nice little quad. If you're a beginner, I can highly recommend this. Now, because I've got good flying skills, I have to fly this in the high position because the low position is way too slow for me. But for a beginner, this is the perfect mode you want to have. Okay, let's take it for a spin a little bit. And I hope I don't crash this bragging about my flying abilities. That would be embarrassing on a review, wouldn't it? The expert crashing. But I'm keeping it close to us. Here's a nice pirouette to show you what it does. Staying in position. That's pretty good. And then we're going to take off like a rocket. There we go. Bring it back towards us. I do like the fact that you have that green nose on the front. That kind of gives you a little bit of orientation. Okay. Let's see, what else have I forgotten about this thing? Oh yeah, emergency stop. We're going to bring this over the landing pad there and show you what that does, because I don't want it to fall too far out of the sky. But in the middle of the throttle stick is a little button. I'm going to push it when it says OK and watch what happens. Oop, wrong one. It falls down right out of the skies. Make sure when you do that button right there that you're not over something that's really hard, because you're probably going to end up tearing up your quad. Okay, let's try that 1 key takeoff again. I'm holding it down. Takes off by itself. Okay. That's pretty much all there is to this little guy. I like it a lot. I can tell you this much. I have flown it prior to this. Don't tell anybody. And the range on this thing is phenomenal. I actually flew this a football field length. I'm going to take it out a little bit right now. It's up in the sky so you can see that it's way out there. And it just kept going. In fact, I just brought it back. Let's try that return to home. See what happens. You notice it's not going where I want it to go. At least it's coming back. Okay, let's turn this guy around. Okay. Now the thing that's bad about a quad, and I didn't do it on this one, I normally paint my quads in the front, nice orange, is, I mean, you look at this and it's really hard to tell the front from the back. So if you're a beginner, make sure you keep this really close to you, and you can see how bright the sky is. That's not good. But up against something that's a little bit darker like this sky, you can see it a little bit better, or even the background of the trees. So try to avoid bright lights. That's gonna really give you a silhouette effect on the quad. And keep it close at first. And our lights are blinking, by the way. That means it's time to land. If you do not land before those lights get too fast, your quad is gonna drop out of the sky. So right now we're gonna put her down, all right? Okay, basically all I did was just hold the throttle down, and that slowed the motors down, and it landed by itself. Okay, you can see those lights blinking right there. Anytime you see those, it's giving you a low voltage warning, that means it's time to come home and land your quad. Otherwise, it will simply lose enough power where it falls out of the sky. Okay, that's the review on this little guy. I suggest you go buy one. It's really a nice little quad. I think you'll do good to start off as a beginner with it.